Remini and you, Mike, recently published a joint statement in the Paul Haggis sexual assault matter stating, quote, "The fear of consequences for speaking our truth has not held us back in the past, and it isn't about to start now," end quote. If you mean by our truth what you learned in Scientology was the truth, the exact time, place, form, and event, then you are lying. You have not spoken the truth, and you serve the Scientology conspirators' purposes by not speaking the truth. Whether Remini actually believes you have been speaking the truth, I do not know, but it sounds incredible. You could be conning her just as you conned her when you both were admittedly in the Scientology sect. You could be using her just as you used so many people over so many years. Or Remini could be jointly lying with you. Regardless of what she knows, however, you know you are lying when you say or convey the message that you are speaking the truth. The day after you published your joint statement in the Haggis matter, you also posted about the Scientologists' response and mentioned the Scientologists' semantic trickery and dishonesty. Quote, "As with everything in Scientology's PR denial closet, you have to read it closely and parse its terminology carefully. Scientology mastered the technique of, quote, depends upon what the meaning of the word is, end quote, long before Bill Clinton came along. I have observed and parsed and dealt with the Scientologists and their high-priced collaborators' willful, drilled, semantic slippery, spin doctoring, obfuscating, outpointing, and outright lying, including yours, Mike, ever since I left Scientology. Here, you and Remini are not clear what our truth means. Using Scientology religious communication, quote, tech, our truth truly can mean a lie, or a stream of lies, or a mix of lies and truth, or whatever is true for us. The truth is, whether or not fear of consequences held you back, you have never spoken the truth about important matters where truth from you would right wrongs and do good. In your joint statement, you and Remini say, quote, "We have supported victims of sexual abuse who have reached out to us and have worked with them in law enforcement to ensure justice is done for both victims and the accused." Presumably, you and Remini were not the sexual abusers whose victims reached out to you and you supported. You, Mike, are, however, the person who abused me. You conspired to deprive me of my basic human rights. You had the job for more than 20 years of criminally silencing or destroying me. I have reached out to you, and you know I have reached out to you. I have wanted you to tell the truth to correct ongoing injustices and ensure justice is done. You have cruelly refused. You brag about helping other people's victims, and you won't help your own. You write an answer to the Scientologists' response. Quote, "The problem is that Scientology has a documented history of engaging in frame-ups of its enemies and a doctrine that dictates they continue to do so as the gospel according to L. Ron Hubbard. It's hard to ignore that once you know. Scientology tries to pretend it doesn't exist for that very reason. We want all the facts to be known," end quote. You framed me, Mike. Because you refuse to tell the truth about it, you continue the frame-up. You framed me and testified falsely about me in court cases, to law enforcement, to the IRS, and into the tops of governments. You cannot honestly claim, and have not claimed that I have seen, that you are now still driven by Hubbard's scriptures or dictates or Miscavige's dictates. Your refusal to tell the truth, while pretending you are telling it, while malicious, I believe, is a product of cowardice. It is possible you really want all the facts to be known, and your cowardice prevents you from making known the facts you have. Or you are just lying about wanting all the facts known, and cowardice keeps you from telling the truth, that you do not want the relevant facts known, and you really do fear the consequences for speaking the truth. Among your other promotional actions, you and Remini used psychologist Steve Hassan on your Aftermath series to publicly position and extol you as a model for people who have left Scientology. Indeed, quote, I'm quoting here Hassan, quote, modeling for ex-members of thousands of other cults. Hassan distinguishes himself as, quote, one of the foremost authorities on undue influence, mind control, and destructive authoritarian people and cults, and I believe he is. Before the Hassan interview, you include a title page identifying him as, quote, cult expert and, quote, licensed mental health counselor, and I'm sure that is accurate. When Hassan said you were modeling for people, for ex-members of thousands of cults, he had to be referring to your words and actions since leaving the corporate cult, not your spiffy attire. Words and actions, it can be seen, are governed by character. Since you are actually modeling cowardice and faking courage, as shown by your actual post-Sea Org words and actions, it was professionally improper of Hassan to commend and recommend you for modeling. You are still victimizing, as I've shown, the very people you victimized for your conspiracy you profess to have left. We are also the very people Hassan says he is an authority about and claims he is helping. I will copy this to him in the hope he would correct his message that you are, or were at the time he said it, a model for people. Or, since we all model for people, that you are a desirable or endorsable model for people. You and Remini used Hassan's modeling statement about you, knowing it was false, to help you and your collaborators like Remini manufacture the false impression that you have told the truth, that you have reached out to your victims, that you have done what you could to help us, and that therefore you are the model of courage for the millions of ex-members of myriad cults. In your case, the truth and real help, where such is sought and could benefit so many people, has to be what would merit recognition as modeling. An ex-Scientologist who criminally conspired to silence or destroy many people over many years, and who then publicly left the conspiracy and claimed to be regenerate, to be telling the truth about his victimizing, and to be helping his victims, and who refused, in fact, to tell such truth or help such victims, is not modeling for people. He is conning people, and he is continuing to persecute his victims, which is more anti-modeling. It is easy to determine that you have not told the truth about your persecution of the SP class or about your conspiracy's actions against citizens simply because you have not done so and there is no record of you doing so. Unquestionably, I have not remained silent concerning my observation of your continuing refusal to tell the truth about your conspiracy against the SP class, your continuing persecution of SPs like me, and your continuing, in important matters, to serve the Miscavige sect's antisocial purposes. My criticism of these actions and inactions is well known, and I certainly would have provided what relevant facts I had if Hassan had contacted me. I have made my own legal cases and my own facts and documented history with you, easily publicly available, and presented these as constituting a categorical example of where the truth and help you willfully withhold would make a pro-survival difference. My legal cases, history, and documents comprise a dividing enterprise or challenge you can meet with either cowardice or courage. You cannot courageously sidestep or ignore it. You can cowardly ignore it, as so far you have forever. You can fake courage, as you have been doing also forever. You and your collaborators can get together to support your cowardice and even to attack your victims for pointing it out or for asking you to have courage and tell the truth. Acquiring such courage might be as simple for you as asking for it. Criticizing you for mismodeling, when people almost everywhere mismodel their heads off, is called for because of the numbers and natures of the persons and groups for whom, as Hassan says, you are modeling or mismodeling. Telling the truth about what makes your words and actions mismodeling is especially important because there is such an obvious agenda to portray you as a model for character or virtue, but certainly courage, when you are not such a model. The legal issues that link you and me are not me seeing things, as you say, but profound and far-reaching. The conspiracy against rights, deprivation of rights under color of law, religious freedom, the IRS villainy, as examples. For avoiding me and these issues from what has been reported, there is no excuse but cowardice, and cowardice is no excuse at all.